you for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Olia Merkees. I am so fucking excited. But before I get to that, let's give some shout outs. Icon Industries. Shane, you love yourself so much. You have to go hire 2 other people with your name on it. I don't understand that, but I love you anyway. Steven, bro, I didn't want you to feel left out. I named the eel after you. Just remember that always when I fuck up and I'm too loud. The rest of the crew at Icon, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. Without further ado, Kat and Jason Godino. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
We're in the building.
Perfect.
You got
That's
it.
right.
Well done.
Are you excited?
I'm excited, man.
So excited.
We went live.
Super excited.
Did you expect the live?
I did not expect the live.
Did you like the live?
The live
Yeah.
is cool. I mean,
I
I
thought it
don't
was
think
good.
it changed anything. We were still just the same person that
Yeah.
we were before.
I think we've totally shifted.
Have we?
Completely
Okay.
different.
Have you? We're going in a different direction.
We're a little bit more erudite.
So I think we're going to
Eloquent.
bore people today, right? Like you guys don't have a cool story.
I'm going to sing a lullaby and put him
Are
to
you?
sleep. Yes.
Let's not
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
We have a guest. We have a special guest besides yourselves. We have to
the important
introduce
one. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
The significant. Zeus, come here.
who's the beautiful.
There you go. This is Zeus.
Oh,
He is the Catalyst
Mascot. Yeah.
He's my sidekick. He
Yeah.
goes everywhere with me.
He's her spirit twin, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term. I had my spirit twin who passed away before I went on sabbatical. We'll call that for now until
Yeah.
we talk about it. But yeah, he's been her
He's mine.
support structure, system, person, puppy, all that good
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
His dog
I-
was like this calm,
yeah.
would fall asleep in 2 seconds. Like
Right.
Jason.
Yeah.
My dog is the one you go on walks and he's 10 steps ahead thinking he knows where he's going, running into stuff, but doesn't actually know where he's going. My dog.
I love it.
Yeah.
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 Basically, it's your spirit animal.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, spirit
Yeah,
twin.
totally.
Spirit twin.
So all I need to do is just get to know Zeus, and I get to know you. I get it.
I mean,
Actually, that's very true because, like she said, my dog Boss would fall asleep on me on the couch or in bed. Like she took so many pictures of me sleeping with Boss under my arm, right? And we would be sleeping just on the bed, just passed out.
Oh.
And he would fall asleep anywhere. After dinner, he would come to the couch, put his head right here, like right here on my lap, and just wait for me to say, "Okay, come up." And then 80-pound pit bull trying to fall asleep on me after dinner. It's just
You got to extra workout at night.
yeah.
Okay, I have a cool question.
Okay.
Oh, I just thought about this. This is good. Tell me how you named the dogs.
Oh, well, Zeus.
Boom.
Zeus,
Let's go.
he has a lightning tail. See? Look.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and he's a total spaz. He's a
look at you
Yeah.
getting creative.
Right?
That was great branding right there.
Yeah, there you go.
What about
Yeah. Boss actually was a name that I just liked because it spoke like strength to me, you know. And a pit bull. I met his dad. His dad's name was Chico. I actually went to L.A.
Compton, right?
to Compton
Yeah.
to because I saw him in this puppy picture and he was just such a cute little pup. And I met his pops and his pops ran to me and was just wagging his tail and he was just a big meaty dog. And I'm like, okay, this guy is gonna grow up like Chico. He's gonna be a boss too. And that's just how it came out.
Oh, that's great. He's going to be a boss too.
Yeah.
When you said boss, I'm like, I'm curious. How'd you come up with that name?
Yeah.
I love dogs.
I don't know if Boss would have survived in Compton. He was not
Well, you know, it's funny. So Boss grew up with my other pit bull. She was a blue nose, and her name was Desi, and she was very territorial. So she was actually the type alpha female. And when he met her, he was a puppy. He was roughly 9 weeks old, and she was already like 2 years old. So it was a significant kind of adaptation. So she always says, "Well, Boss was a beta." Okay.
Right.
All right, whatever. If he was, he's gone now. It doesn't matter. He was still the best dog ever. But he was an alpha if he needed to be.
So he was covered.
It was just
Right.
that when he grew up, he was under an alpha. So he took on a very calm personality. Like I'm not a beta male at all, but I have just a very calm, relaxed personality. And I
Yeah.
was like this, you know, I've been like this for a very long time. So that's why we had this synergy, this kind of synergistic kind of, you know, attitude and energy to us.
You have the smooth center. Like,
Yeah.
Like, all right, I need to
This is the next
have
thing.
Jason just kind of
This must
break.
be pit bulls.
So I want to hear the story. How does this happen? How does the magic happen between the two of you? Because what I'll describe for our audience, when you two walked in, the way she talks about you is you could feel the bond, the connection, the synergy. I'm curious. How did this come to manifest?
Oh man, so here's the constant
Oh,
debate:
gosh.
which one of us is actually sharing the truth, right? Because I have my version of this how we met story.
Good.
She has her version of how we met story, right? So
Okay.
I'll give you my version.
Go.
I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible and unembellished as possible. Okay. So I just came out of a 10-year relationship, 6 years married to my ex-wife, 4 years together prior to that, and so we worked out at the same gym, her and I. And I didn't necessarily know her before then. One day after my relationship ended with my ex, roughly about maybe 2-3 weeks after I'd moved out, I was going into the gym and she was coming down the same parking lot aisle that I had parked in. And she was walking with this medical boot on. And usually when I go to the gym, and you saw my before pictures, I was just focused. There was nothing that was getting in my way for me throwing around iron. That's just how my mentality was, right? And so I wasn't looking to have conversations with people. I was just in the zone, like, all right, I have a mission. I'm going to accomplish it, and then I'm going to be done. And then I could have conversations, and I could leave. So as she was walking up to me, I saw her medical boot. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? I don't even know where that question came from. It was because I wasn't.
You were drawn to me, babe.
Listen, some people are like, that's the best pickup line I've ever heard, right? Or non-pickup line I've ever heard. What the hell happened to you? Mm-hmm. So she's like, well, I broke my foot in Greece. I'm like, oh, must have been quite a party. She's like, no. I said, alcohol? She's like, no. She's like, I was just walking down the street and it happened. And I was like, sidewalk? No. Heels? No. Like all these elimination questions, and there was a no to them. And she's like, no, it's like a cobblestone street. You know how like sometimes when you're walking in flip-flops, like you could just step on something, turn your foot, and it could break. I was like, no. Then I started taking on the nose. No, I don't understand how that could happen. So, but then at that point in time, I had this urge, like there's some spidey sense in me to step back and be like, if you can just walk down the street and break your foot, you're dangerous. You're right to yourself and maybe to others.
Okay.
So I was like, that's what I said to her. I said, I think you're kind of dangerous. We need to put red cones around you wherever you walk. And she laughed at me and thought that was, childish humor in that way. And then we just kind of exchanged names. And I said, hey, I'm Jason. Nice to meet you. She said, I'm Kat. I'm like, great. I'll see you when I see you kind of thing. So that's the how we met story. But it gets deeper than that because the next day I was training with my buddy in the same gym. She was not there yet, but we were in front of a mirror and there were the dumbbell racks right there. So we were training with the dumbbells. And so I'm looking in the mirror as I'm waiting to do my set, and I see her walking up behind me. Mm-hmm. And I look back at her and I'm like, oh, crap, it's you again. Now, I use the profanity, and so I don't necessarily curse anymore. But
you don't? Okay.
I don't. But it was a stronger word. And she's like, oh, great, what every woman wants to hear, oh, crap, it's you again, right? And so I started laughing because to me that was funny because I was like, listen, I said that because I'm here in front of a dumbbell rack. There are loose weights around here. You're coming to grab them. If you hadn't happened to drop them, you may break my foot and then we're both going to end up in a medical boot. I said, that's not a good look. That's not a good look for me. Right. So in essence, that's the kind of teasing that just came off of that. And it kept moving forward. And then she invited me to have lunch with her and her brother to talk about business. And her brother didn't show up. What can that be about? Right. So anyway,
that's very convenient.
You see what I'm saying? So there's the how we met story.
I'm an unbiased judge. Mm-hmm. We're gonna subscribers will put in the poll.
Yeah,
go ahead.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Kat, please take the baton.
So I've always been a person, first of all, I've always been a very strong personality. You might be able to tell, right? So a lot of my friends were always the guys. Like I would always hang out with all the guys. I was always considered one of the guys. So when I met him, his personality, and as you can tell, like he's just charismatic. He's great. Like you just are drawn to him. He has this sense of humor. And I just enjoyed being around him. And at first it was like a friendship, one of the guys. And I'm also one of those people where I feel like nowadays you get on these dating apps or whatever, and you have to know whether or not you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone or you're going to date them within like 2 dates, right? Like you're supposed to know. And for me, I want to get to know you. We're not dating. We're not doing anything. We're just friends. So
got it. Okay.
After him and I hung out for like 2 weeks and we were hanging out a lot, I go to him and said, just so you know, we're nothing more. And he goes, what? And I was like, just so you know, and he's on the stairs at the time in the gym. We're just friends. And he goes, do you want to go outside and talk about this? Like, I don't even know.
I was actually doing my cardio. I was actually doing my cardiovascular exercise, right? And she comes up to the machine randomly and just tells me this, like,
I was overthinking. And so we go outside and I'm like, well, I just don't want to set unrealistic expectations. Like, we're just friends, just so you know. Like, we're just friends. And he's like, okay. And it's if he had been the person that would have,
Yeah.
pushed it, or okay, well then I'm going to go do something, or I have no
Yeah.
plans here, then it wouldn't have happened. But he was like, okay, and then we just kept hanging out as friends for I think we were just friends for like 6 weeks at least. And then
Okay.
one night he leaned in and he kissed me, and I was very unsure about that. And then every day, like, I missed him. He was that person that
Oh.
that anything that happened, doesn't matter how big or small, I wanted to call him and tell him, and it was just so easy. And he just turned into my best friend every day.
I think the reason why we clicked was because a lot of it had to do with me. I wasn't ready for a relationship in that sense. Like, I wasn't looking for one. And so I didn't have the cologne of desperation all over me, which I think a lot of men sometimes carry. And that's a scarcity mindset. And I was just in the mindset of like, you don't want to hang out as more than friends? Who cares? Somebody else is going to want to hang out with me because I've developed me to be me. And me is pretty dang good.
Well,
not in an arrogance type of way at that time. It was just more of the, like, I respected who I was. I valued who I was and what I was bringing to the table. And I was hanging out with her as a friend with no expectations of what was beyond that. So that didn't put any pressure on her to like have to fulfill that. It was just, let's experience life together, see where it goes. If it doesn't lead to anything more than a friendship, who cares? We'll have a great friendship. So that's what we got to build on.
Well, and that right there is, every man out there says they want a confident, strong woman until they have a confident, strong woman, and then they can't handle that confident, strong woman,
Very
right?
true.
And then more than not, because they're insecure about one thing or another, they start to nip it. Oh, why are you wearing that? Oh, why is that guy looking at what? And all of a sudden the insecurities come out. And so when I met him, he just had this confidence that was like, okay, like never. And so it was just so easy. And I'll never forget when about 6 weeks, I left and I went on a photo shoot thing I was doing. And I came back and there was someone I knew that had asked me, and they wanted me to represent their bikini line and brand or whatever. And I came back and I told him, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's just messing, or I don't know if it's for other reasons. Because I grew up with 2 older brothers and a dad that's like, oh, they just, for lack of they just want to get in your pants, or they just want da 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 da, or And I kind of said that to him, and he looked at me and goes, no, don't sell yourself short. Like, you're an incredible woman. You have an opportunity. You go and you thank him and you do this. And if something comes else that you don't approve of, well, then you walk away. But that's not the first thing you go to of what you think about yourself. And let's be honest, most men would be like, yeah, you're not going to go get in a bikini in front of it. You're not going to, so, or at least the ones that I dealt with in the past.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
I don't think it's okay. Like, I'm trying to teach the boys how to be men.
Right.
Like real men.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, handle your shit.
Yes.
Clean up after
Good
yourselves.
for
Learn
you.
how to cook. You don't need anyone else. You got to be able to take care of you. Because I didn't learn that from my parents. I didn't learn how to be self-sufficient, how to become a real fucking man.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
what I want to do, because that's how legacy builds itself.
Yeah.
And how you treat your woman and and what you're doing, it makes you,
Yep.
that shows what a man you are, to be honest.
I wasn't a very good guy. I just tell them to do better than I did. Seriously. Like, that, your bond is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
get
have
it.
we have a responsibility as parents, whether we're older brothers, whatever our role is, to set the bar higher for others. Right?
Yeah.
But it's always one of those things where don't demand from somebody else what you don't demand from yourself. And so for myself, I demand a very, very high level, and I don't demand that from other people because I understand that may be too much pressure for them, but I at least look at what they're telling me and say, you could do so much better. So I think people they need a little bit of encouragement, and then they also need challenge, right? So that's where accountability kind of splits itself, is how do you encourage somebody so they don't fall off the table and feel defeated? And then how do you challenge them when encouragement is not actually getting to where they need to get to? So that's the difficult balance that we all face. And I have 2 kids that are almost 18 and 20. So I've raised 2 girls.
Okay.
So I know, how to do that in that aspect of things. And it's an interesting one.
Got it. That explains a lot. You have how many daughters?
2 daughters.
Yeah,
2
2
stepdaughters that are 8. They're going to be 18 and 20
Okay.
this year. Yeah.
You're a champ.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I wouldn't have been a good daughter, Dad. I would have been like, what? Yeah, I would have. No. It's came back to your story. Like, when did you know? Like, how did things after that 6 weeks happen? Mm-hmm. He made the first move, right?
Made the first move.
Okay.
And then it just evolved. Like, it was just
If it evolved,
so easy. Yeah, right. Everything was easy. There were no games. There was nothing.
Ooh,
and
that's
like
good.
you you just keep taking the step forward, and you always want to hang around each other. You always want to talk to you. It wasn't hard. It really wasn't. At 3 months, he goes, okay, we're going to go see this therapist. And I was like, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? And he goes, no, babe. He goes, just like a football player, if they're in the NFL, they have a coach. If we're not retiring from our relationship, we have a coach. And that was, at first, because we always think, and this is our world, right? You need a therapist if something's wrong. You go to the doctor when something's wrong. You do everything. It's like, but no. What if you're proactive instead of reactive? And that's what he taught me in our relationship is like, let's be proactive. Let's start the communication off right in this relationship. And I remember we were about 6 months in, and I had never lived with someone before that I was dating, and I'm like, we're together all the time anyways. I mean, should we just move in together? And I went to my brother and asked my brother, and I was like, is that bad? Like, should I wait? Like, what? And he goes, babe, Jason's awesome. Like, and I'm sorry, but he said, if I were gay, I'd marry him. And my brother's married with kids. And he goes, he's amazing. So I would move in with him.
I think that's the best compliment you give another man.
Right?
Bro, if I wasn't gay, I'll be gay now.
I started laughing. I told him that after the fact. He's like,
and that's a huge compliment.
Yes,
and to me,
here's
and I want to touch on that because I don't want, like, to me, I've learned how to be accepting of everyone. As long as you don't harm anyone, I'm like, dude, do you, bro? Do you?
Yeah.
You happy? Get it. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when he says that, that's some funny shit.
Oh, it was hilarious.
That's
it was
funny.
Hilarious. And my brother's married, kids, all of this, but he was just cracking me up. He's like, Kat, like, he's awesome.
Okay, serious question. What was different about, actually, we'll go, Kat, you go first. What was different about Jason than other people in relationships before? What was different about him?
Honestly, what I said was his confidence.
Yeah.
100% his confidence and the way he treated me with respect. And just, there was never an insecurity. There was always, every time I was with him and we had genuine conversations about things, like it elevated me to another level. It always bettered me. And I'm a type of person, if you know me, I always have to be better, or I have to be the best, or if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to teach myself how to do it.
Board games.
Whatever it might be, board games, snowboarding. I will go out there and I will fall on my butt snowboarding all day long, black and blue, but I will get this and I will be the best at it. And I will, it's probably a good and bad thing. You know what I mean? And here comes this guy who all he does every time is support me, elevate my strengths, but also feed into me where it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe look at this a different way. And also take me down a notch if I need to be. And he did it in a way that wasn't condescending, didn't make me feel lesser than, and a lot of people do that when you are the type of person that constantly wants to better yourself. And actually, my therapist said this one time. She said, Kat, you're the type of person that always wants to better yourself. And the people around you are either going to support you and lift you, or they're going to want to pull you back because you're making them reflect on themselves. And so it was interesting he's just phenomenal. He's a phenomenal human.
What a beautiful way to describe him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that she would describe me.
If I wasn't, I just want to.
I know
you weren't married.
I know. Exactly.
I figured I'd jump on the. I'm kidding.
It's true.
Jason,
it's funny that she talks about me like that, because I have nothing but the same words or more to talk about her about that. And you asked what made me know, or what made us know about kind of each other. And the day before, she came to me while I was doing cardio on the stair mill elliptical machine at the gym. We had gone to dinner with her mom and her godmother, and so this was early on in a relationship. It just had been a couple weeks into us just hanging out as friends, but she invited me to play board games and have dinner with her mom and her godmother. Her mom was in town from out of the country visiting. And so we went over to her godmother's house, and we played video games. We played some board games. We ate dinner and played some board games. I had conversation with her mom. That was my first time meeting her mom. Her mom was actually in town for her 70th birthday. Okay, so I met her mom, had the exchange, conversation, and I was like, wow, if that's what Kat's gonna actually become, that's amazing, because her mom is amazing. In terms of her youthful energy at her age that she's at, her approach to life in terms of what it has to offer, the exploration in her heart, the desire that's there for adventure, and her personality is just, it lights up a room. And I saw the connection between her mom and Kat, and I was like, man, that would be that. You know what? I couldn't necessarily go wrong if that was the woman I ended up with, right? With being Kat. And at that point in time, nothing had really. There's nothing that came out of that was romantically acknowledging that there could be something there. But I remember dropping her off, and I think this is what scared her. I remember dropping her off at her house that night after that, and I gave her a hug, and I just held on to her a little bit more. And I think I was going to try to say something, but then she's like, "Let me go." She's like, "Let me go."
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because my hug was more than like 4 seconds, right? And I was trying to get an 8-second hug.
Got it.
Yeah, and so she went in her house, and I think the next day she felt that because I tried to get an extended hug, there might have been something developing that she wasn't ready for yet. And so I think at that moment, I was like, there might be something here worth exploring. And once again, the reason why I was like not fully determined to explore it, but just thinking in my mind that was starting to brew was because I'd just come out of a long relationship, a decade relationship. But I felt like there was so much more to what she had to offer. And then as we started to date and started to get to know each other, I mean, take away the physical aspects, right? And people always say, is somebody beautiful on the inside? Well, I think a lot of times we as men get lost with the external beauty, and we want to just get physically, involved and wrapped up with things that we don't necessarily look at what's underneath. And even if we do, we're so enraptured with the exterior or the physical side of things that we tend to like be like, oh, I got to test drive the vehicle. There's nothing more that I need to find out about this, and let me go on to the next one. And you start feeding that pleasure center, right, versus the rational center of what else is there that they can really offer me. More importantly, what can I offer them? And so as you get into the mechanics of that, I started to realize not only does she have all those characteristics that I appreciated in her mom, but she's such a go-getter, right? She just takes things to the next level for herself. She raises other people around her with her attitude and her energy, and her presence is just unmistakable. That what she carries with her in her heart is so genuine. She would really go out of her way to help people. There's so many instances where I'm in amazement just looking at her and just like, that's what you thought about how to do this? Like, you just thought you'd go help this person just like that? Like, she would help people, or she would say things to people just to make them feel better, because she wasn't doing it to make herself feel better, but she was doing it because she could see that person would benefit greatly from that. And that's like an empathic, type of personality. And people say that I'm similar to that, but she carries way more of that than I do. And I have to work harder to be like that. But she sets the example for me.
Yeah, I see that. I think the difference is like it comes so easy for Kat because she's the extrovert.
Yeah. I'm a situational extrovert.
You are. Mm-hmm. But you have to trust the person. Mm-hmm.
Yes. To be fair, yes. If it's demanded from me, like this situation demands me coming out and speaking about things that I've never spoken about before, right? But I will do that because if that's a testimony that can help somebody, that's the way I look at that's the lens I process everything through now. It's how can I help somebody else?
I love it.
Yeah.
I had a pretty incredible person on, Ben Weinberg, and he said, I approach all my relationships with one sentence. How can I help?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, fuck. Like this guy, I mean, he's got all the check mark in the box. So to hear that, you really gain perspective on what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
You do.
And I don't think anybody knows that better than. So after you start dating, he makes the move.
He makes the move.
And then what happens next? You start dating.
Amazingness.
I know that. Yeah. So
By the way,
when
I
you
could
get
never sit normal. Even when I was in elementary school, my teacher made me sit on the floor because I could never sit normal. So I apologize.
I just want to let you know, I think you and I are spirit animals with regards to our anxiousness. I cannot I will tell. I know I'm too much,
right?
And I embrace that shit,
right?
Because I have to. Like I can't because I hold back. I make myself miserable and everybody else. I just cannot get enough. Yeah. She's knocking off her shoes. I'm like, hey, don't hit Zeus in the eye with your heel. Right. That's what I'm thinking about during the interview, just so you know how much I love dogs.
Yeah.
And she's kicking off her. I'm like, do you, girl? Like, you want a table? Like,
no.
This is. I think the more human we are, and that's what I'm focused now, like really being human, being vulnerable and saying, hey, I fuck up every day and I'm going to do better. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to be relentless at getting better, doing more good, being more good, and changing the world one day at a time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're my kind of people, awesome. You're not, it's all good. You be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, what happened as we moved along in our relationship, and one of the reasons why I brought up the seeking counsel, as far as our relationship goes, is, as she said, all the top professional athletes in the world have a coach until they retire. And so it's like, if you're not planning on retiring from your relationship anytime soon, why would you not have a coach steer you through that time? You'll get a business coach, so you go big for your family, but not your relationship. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the problem I see, and we see it in our business, is that people aren't ready to invest in things that they want because it takes work to invest, right? So if they can buy a solution, it's easy for them to buy the solution. Why? Because they can then return the solution and blame the solution that it didn't work for them. If they try to return an investment, they have to blame themselves. Right? Let that sink in. You have to blame yourself when you try to return an investment. So when you invest in your relationship and it doesn't work, who's to blame? You are, right? You can't buy the solution that the counselor gave you. You had to actually internalize it, invest in it, activate it, and actuate it between each other. And so that's the key thing that we see in our business too, is that people want to buy our solution that we offer. And then it's like somebody going to the gym. Here's them in the gym. Oh, what's on the TV? They leave the gym and it's like, oh, the gym didn't work for me, man. Well, you didn't work the gym, buddy, because you didn't invest in doing the work. So, that's the part that we really have worked on. And we've gone through a series of graduations with our relationship coach, in terms
I know
of,
we sound perfect, but we're not perfect.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're work in progress.
Do you know what the funny thing is? I have no perception that anyone's perfect.
Yeah.
I think what we do is we do a great job of showing our best and not really showing how we're struggling every day to get better.
Right. And that was the key part of why we went to coaching, why she was open to it. We're both so determined to make ourselves better and bring the best version of ourselves wherever we go. And a huge part of relationships that we identified together is that it's the beach ball perspective. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the beach ball perspective is, let's say we had a beach ball sitting right in front of us right now. We're all seeing the beach ball, but I'm seeing blue and yellow. She's seeing red and white. You're seeing green and blue. So we're seeing the same ball, but different perspectives, different colors. And that makes us also, through that lens or through what we process, then speak differently about the same exact situation. And that's where we had to realize that we're on opposite ends. Let's move the chairs so that we're sitting on the same side, looking at the same thing and the same colors at that point in time. And so then we actually look to have a win-win, not a win-loss. Yeah. And that's the biggest part of what we're focused on, and with what our business does, is how do we get the patients, clients that we see to have the win-win. So it's not just a win for us. We don't want your money if you're going to fail. Take your money back. Take your money back.
I fucking love you guys.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
So then we keep going.
I know. No, well, we're going to get to that. What you just said, it's so hard to look in the mirror and be able to be honest and real with yourself. It is on the planet for 40 plus years. This is the one goal I got is let's talk to the boys and just be like, hey guys, these are the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
Be better.
Right.
Be better. And I'm not going to make the decision for our kids. I think it's not about telling, it's the commitment.
Yeah.
I'll go to the gym and I'll be on social media. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm here to work out.
That's right.
Put that shit aside, turn off the phone or leave the phone in your car.
Right.
So when we go on a hike with the boys, I put that, I'm like, dude, no phones. We're so connected.
Intentional.
We don't, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what you're preaching. And you're saying it's more about the bond. I care more about the bond and you achieving your goal than the money you're going to pay me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't want your money. We don't want your money if you're going to fail. We want you to be committed to you, right? And we said this a couple years ago, is it's you versus you.
Yeah.
But what I was able to learn through my experiences and grow, and we share this vision now, is it's not you versus your old you in essence. It's let's stop competing with your old you. Let's start cooperating with your current you so that you can make a better version of a future you. And that thinking really says, you know what? No longer am I going to, because if you keep competing with your old you, you wouldn't have had that result. You wouldn't have had the results you had. What you said is, I'm going to leave my failures of competition behind with my old person, and I'm going to start competing for victories with, or I'm going to start cooperating for victories with my current person, and that's going to take me ahead. And people sometimes can't necessarily distinguish that because they attach themselves to the failures of the past. And it's like their old self competes against their current self, and that old self keeps becoming victorious, keeps holding the victory trophy above them and says, you're not good enough. Look, this happened to you before. You failed at this diet. You're going to fail at this one. You failed at this exercise. You failed at this one. And it becomes a self-defeating prophecy, right? And so that's the message that we're trying to channel through all of our patients as they come in and moving forward.
I love that you're fighting the mental battle, and it's so crazy how much of it is mental, because you say you hold on to your past and it's all in our imaginations. I'm a big, like Joe Dispenza, like,
Oh, yeah.
you're like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Me and
Evolve
you.
your brain.
Me and you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
See, he's so evolved. Like his brain, he doesn't know what anxiety is. He doesn't know what stress is.
Yeah.
He doesn't, even with everything he's been through. And then there's me who anxiety, done the Joe Dispenza, have a PEMF mat, do cold plunges, do all the things because I've had the anxiety, I've had the panic attacks, I deal with all that stuff, you know.
Daily.
And people don't. So many times people are like, you, and that's why I try to put it out there and say that, because yes, people don't talk about, yeah, you feel like you don't have the motivation to get up, or you feel like you're panicking, or you're just having the worst anxiety, you can't even move, you know. And I try to put that out there to people to be like, yeah, it happens to all of us except him.
I see it. I think Jason, you seem really, really real, and you'll check yourself. It's just like, I get it. I didn't understand people that were really centered. They were just like,
Yeah.
it was all.
She contributes to that more than she may think,
Oh,
or more than people
I could
know,
tell.
because what she offers me is to see and I don't say this in a bad way, the complete opposite perspective at times when she has a reaction to things. I react to things too, and the key thing is, don't react, respond, right? Because you have a stimuli that's going to hit you, and you have a gap in between that stimuli and your reaction or your response. When you react, it's a knee-jerk reaction and typically doesn't always produce the best results. But if you take a second to process what you're actually, with the stimuli that's coming to you, and you respond, you won't have a word that's derogatory. You won't have an F-bomb to somebody that makes them feel bad. You'll just be like, you know what? All right, I understand. I can maybe process where this person's coming from. And this is the thing that she and I really take heavy into consideration, is that we don't know the downside of being that person. We don't know what baggage they've carried up until the moment that we've interacted with them,
Right.
whether it's on the road and they flip us off because we cut them off, or they're too aggressive, or whatever the case may be.
Wow.
So to really carry that as a perspective on a daily, that's what gives us an opportunity to be more loving to others and be more caring for them. But back to the perspectives, when she goes kind of off the deep edge in some things, right?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
It helps me take a perspective and be like, so if that's the worst case, there's so much better on the other side of that. Let me hold that line, so that way she can come towards the center, even if she's not where I'm at. And the thing is, it's not like I'm the sane one and she's the crazy one. If anything, our yin and yang is so positive in terms of how we develop each other, because she's my biggest teacher. Like, she helps me because she can trigger me in so many ways that it helps me understand why I'm getting triggered. But in business, for example, she sees all the things that could go wrong while I just see all the things that could go right. You put those together, we make a phenomenal team, you know?
Yeah.
But I had to get over my pride in order to see that she wasn't trying to kneecap what I was trying to bring to the table. She was just saying, hey, why don't we prepare for these things? And I would say things like, you know, let's expect the best, but be prepared for the worst. But I would like to stay on the let's expect the best and not prepare for the worst. She's like, hey, I'm with you, but let's prepare for the worst. You're missing that piece of it. And so I would not give her credit for that. And I would say, and she loves to repeat this, and I would say she's like a seagull. She would just drop in, poop, and then leave on my ideas, right? And so I was like, I don't want your seagull advice, you know? And so that was my past. Once again, I had to be broken free of that. I had to be broken of my pride, and I had to be taken down a notch. And the only way I got to that was really my sabbatical, you know, and I know we'll get to that. But as we moved through our relationship, we really came to a point of understanding that we can help each other, and we wanted to become the best version that we could be individually and as together. And so that continued to move forward. I was in a business for multiple things, and if we want to get into that now,
Yeah, let's
we
jump
can dive down to
into
that.
So when did you get married though?
We got
22.
Yeah, 22.
April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2022. We
Get
should
the fuck out.
We should.
Why would you get married on April
Okay.
It's a
4th?
whole joke because over the years I had totally screwed with my mom multiple times. Like I sent her.
Oh,
a
your
picture of
dad?
Well, you got to put a little bit of detail.
Well,
into
no,
it.
I sent him a picture. I sent her a engagement ring photo in front of the Trevi Fountain when we were in Italy, and I'm like, "Guess what, Mom?" And it was after probably 8 months of dating, and she goes, "Oh, wow, are you happy?"
So she's a little bit of a prankster. We're in Rome at the Trevi Fountain. We're in Rome at the Trevi Fountain, and that's where a lot of people get engaged, right? And it's this beautifully decorated, sculpted stone structure with a big fountain area, and all these couples are around there, just kind of admiring this sightseeing tourist attraction. And we go there, and she's like, "Hey, babe, do you want to play a joke on my mom?" And I'm not in that mind frame. And she's like, "What are you thinking?" She's like, "Let's pretend that we just got engaged." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And she's like, "Yes, let's find a picture from the internet with a woman's hand with the ring on it, and let's send that to my mom." So she does that, and she's like, "Mom," and then blah blah blah.
And then a year later, I sent her a picture of an ultrasound.
a year later on April Fool's, because right. So after her mom's like, "Are you happy?" She's like, "Mom, it's April 1st, April Fool's Day, right?" So then her mom's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, screw you guys," that kind of thing. A year later, April Fool's, she does the same thing. She's like, let's play a joke on my mom. I'm like, "What do you want to do this time?" And I don't know if it was you or me that came up with the idea. So I had a hand in it. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're jumping in. Second, you're like, let's do this.
Yes. I'm like,
And we messed with her again.
Yeah,
And
and we-
So he wasn't trying to talk you out of it.
No.
He's like,
No.
I mean, this was fun.
Yeah.
And then when we actually got engaged, I FaceTimed my mom and she did not, but she's like, whatever. She did not believe me. It took like 10,
that's
15
funny.
minutes of being like, "No, Mom, we are actually serious." So we thought it would be hilarious. Who gets married on April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
And I don't like doing things that everyone else does. So why not?
well,
you hit different.
Yeah, she does, right? And so
Yeah.
so it was a combination of, one, no one believed that she would find a man to marry her. To marry her. She could find plenty of men, right? Find plenty of men
Wow.
to date, but she would not find a man to marry her. In fact, our buddy JD mentioned that at the altar. And then two, it was because of the jokes that we
Yeah.
played on her mom, but it was also like, people may not believe that we're actually getting married on that day because it was that day. So it just had all these double entendres to it.
And then they didn't, because we decided, we always said we'll get married when we feel like we should get married.
Right.
So we decided and got a venue that January. We got approved for the venue February of 2022. And then we got married April 1st.
So it's like
and
10
so we
weeks.
sent out, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not doing a normal wedding. We are doing opposite. I don't want bridesmaids. I don't want a wedding party. I want like a club feel. I don't want sit down dinner. I don't want any of that stuff. Let's just have a party. Right.
Yeah.
And so when I sent out the invites via text, just sent out like evites, people were like, "Is this a joke?" Because it was April Fool's. Is this a joke? Are you actually going to get married?
So we got them like that. Yeah.
And then on our wedding, we did April Fool's and tried to tell them I was pregnant, and then we said April Fool's. It was good. It was
Yeah.
fun.
I need to. I'm glad we're friends now. I just want you to know I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
The fuck.
good.
Are you?
Yeah, we're
serious? You said
co-pranksters.
ultrasound to your mom.
And it was funny because we had this projection on the wall,
wow.
and it said JK April 1st, 2022, right? Jason and Kat is like, just kidding. JK, it just worked out beautiful.
Yeah,
it worked out beautiful.
was
So
great.
You two are like a walking brand. Why you're not on podcasts all the time together? Like, this is freaking entertainment.
Walking brand. Look at us, babe.
You are a walking
Walking
brand.
well, the reason why we couldn't be a walking brand for a while was because I was actually incarcerated. Right?
Yes. So you want to get to that?
Yeah, let's get to that, because I know that's a big piece of how I came to be, more kind of centered and more aligned and more of a humanitarian than I ever was before. And in our relationship, when I first met Kat, I got out of my 10-year relationship. I was doing real estate development. I had a merchant processing business that I was involved in, and I was invited to do a cannabis manufacturing business as well. And so when we started, that was 2017. So the 2017, 2018 timeframe, that was when there was a gray area of cannabis kind of manufacturing, dispensaries, all of that in the San Diego area.
Right.
And so when it was released that you can actually get a state license for it, the federal government at the time said it was still illegal by federal government standards, but the I forget who the district attorney was at the time, Barr. His last name was Barr. I want to say William Barr. He was the one that said, we're just going to keep a hands-off, kind of a laissez-faire attitude towards state-approved manufacturing or cannabis manufacturing dispensaries, facilities, etc. So throughout this different, at least throughout California, they started a program where you can actually apply for a license. Okay, so you have to go through your municipality, and then once you got approved with your municipality, then you can get a state license. The federal government still said that was illegal, but they would hands off of it. Okay, so when I started that with her, everything was kind of in a proof of concept stage. And we had applied for the licensure at that same time.
Well, you didn't start it with me. You were doing this.
Yes, excuse me. But in terms of my kind of relationship with her, that was the parallel time frame of how things work. So we applied for a conditional use permit with the city of La Mesa, and then we paid architectural fees to get the design for the lot that we had actually secured a leased option to buy. And so the lease option to buy was triggered by our conditional use permit application being approved by the city. As soon as that happened, we were supposed to buy the actual land, and then we'd get our state license as well. So through that process, they said it would take about a 6 to 8 month process to run. So we're like, okay, great. We weren't able to operate on the property, but we had a separate location that we were operating under. And we're like, listen, we build this proof of concept up, we take everything and just boom, plop it onto the approved license. So we were in the gray area at the time, and so we were not truly correct. Okay, I'll put that out there. I'm in a position to where I was able to reflect and be like, you know what, I wasn't fully right. I can't claim this as a true injustice. Even though my attorneys argued for me and said, listen, this would have been a licensing infraction if it was picked up by the state as a case, but it was picked up by the federal government, right? So there was the reason for the difference in extremity of prosecution. So anyways, fast forward a little bit, we got taken down by the DEA. Our facility was raided. They followed an individual who was supplying us with some food grade ethanol, and that's completely acceptable substance. It's not it's not volatile. While it can be used as a solvent, and it is used in kitchens, commercial kitchens today, nevertheless, the person that was delivering us, that he was actually doing some other stuff that wasn't right. Little that we necessarily know that full story. But anyways, the DEA tracked him to us. So, that was the unfortunate way it went down. Looking back at it, I'm like, wow, in retrospect, I would have never gone through this incarceration. It was a blessing in disguise, believe it or not. I don't know how many people get to say that. I feel like I do. And so that is the essence of what helped me transform, is spending that time in there and understanding.
You can't just skip ahead to this. So basically,
I'm not going to, but please, by all means, jump in and fill in the blanks where I'm missing.
I mean, I'll never forget, because I come home that day and he goes, so our lab got raided. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he goes, DEA raided our lab. And I'm like, well, that's okay. You guys applied for everything you guys did. And he goes, no, but federally, right? So people don't realize, because people always say, yeah, but there's dispensaries there's all these things everywhere. I'm like, but federally, they're illegal. Like, all of them are legal.
Everything in the state of California could literally be shut down and prosecuted as of right now. It's the government's federal stance to take, like I said, laissez-faire, which means hands-off
so they pick
approach to it. So when we actually got sentenced, our judge said, listen, even if you guys had a state license, if this case was brought to me, I would still actually sentence you guys to a term because it's not federally legal.
So like the dispensary down the street that you can walk into and buy cannabis is illegal federally. Yeah. Technically, federally, they could go in and put them in jail for 25 years because it's a Schedule I drug still.
Okay. So just as an outsider, just listening to this, like, how are you supposed to know? We're friends.
Yeah, right.
Upon me. You guys, you're just accessories, okay?
I know. Look at him.
You're just eye candy. Yeah. He's the main star.
I know. So anyway, yes, got raided. So they went to their.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
I have a question. Okay. So you're talking about this gray area. What I'm curious about is I would lose my shit. Like, I would be like, dude, like, what the fuck? Yeah. You guys have this gray area. I'm following exactly the direction that you guys are giving everyone.
Yeah.
We're playing in this grade. I get it. It's state approved, federally not approved.
Right.
How do you not lose your shit?
Well, he was very calm. Like,
I know,
this
that's
is
what
him.
I'm saying.
And I'm sitting there because I don't really know. I wasn't really involved in that side of the business.
Right.
So I could only go off of what he was saying.
Right.
So he's like, no, babe, it's like the attorneys will take care of it and this. And then I know that the attorneys went to them and said, hey, you know, if you need to talk to them, they'll turn themselves, whatever you guys need. Right. So they said,
They went to
we'll-
the DEA agents.
Yeah.
So you're being cooperative.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
in
yeah.
essence, even though the lab got raided, the agents never came to me and said, "Hey, it's time for you to come in." They never came to arrest me because it got raided in May, and then I didn't actually get arrested till November
And they came. So this is where I started to be like,
because I wasn't at the
what is
facility when
happening?
they raided it.
Right.
I was going to say,
But their
like,
name
I
is
didn't
on
understand
the
that.
facility. Their name is on it. Everything. Their attorneys went to the DA and said, "Hey, they are cooperative. They will come in and talk to you. We have all of this." So they said, "Okay, we'll let you know." So then nothing was heard, and November comes, week of Thanksgiving. Okay, I fly to San Francisco for work, and I land in San Francisco that morning at 6:30 a.m. and I have a text being, "Babe, cops are here." So apparently, cops, 20 deep, banging on my front door where he's at, and he sleeps through a hurricane. Okay, so he doesn't even hear them at first. And apparently they're like, "Jason, we know you're in there," blah, blah, banging on the door. Like,
It was Hollywood blockbuster movie because they had lots of DEA agents fully armed, ARs, you know, Molly packs of multiple, you know, magazines of ammunition. They had the PD there too, so all
everybody.
you know, all
And
over
so
there.
I get a voicemail from my neighbor that goes, Kat, you might want to give me a call. Nobody's answering their phone. I jump on the next flight, go home, and this is my first thing with it, right? I'm like, what is happening? He can't call me for a day or two because he's getting, I guess, booked.
Processed, yeah.
I don't know anything about any of this because I'm, you know, I grew up.
And she's still my girlfriend at the time.
I am
She's not my fiance.
Yeah, I'm not a
or my
fiance or wife at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not married?
Right.
Oh,
No.
So here I am.
That's big, right?
That
Get the
he's
fuck
in.
out.
Yeah, he's in. I have my job. I can't really tell people what's going. I mean, how do you explain this to people at this point, right? So we're keeping.
I don't even know how you process this at this point,
Yeah.
let alone how do you tell people, like, I would be
Yeah.
like, what in the world
Didn't
is
tell
going on
anybody.
with the world?
So I still have to. I'm in medical device sales, so I'm covering surgeries in San Diego while I have my dogs in the car. Thank goodness it was November because it was nice and cool. While I'm taking his parents down because I have to put up bail, I guess, and the judge needed a certain amount. Like, all I know is what TV says it is. It's not reality because I'm like, oh, well, if bail's 250,000, then I only have to put up 10% of that, right? No, 250,000. So I have
Surety
to put
bond,
up
yeah.
my house,
Yeah.
and then I can't do both, like his partner. So they have to do his house, and I'm sitting there in court, and the district attorney is like trying to intimidate me, going, "You could lose your house. You could blah blah blah." And I'm like, "What? I don't even know what's happening." And then because they chose to do it Thanksgiving week because this is how they intimidate them, right? So they know there's no judge, so they're going to be stuck in there for like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's so many deep details on this, but to put it in perspective, she carried so much, and maybe that's where some of the anxieties come out from my situation. So I praise God for all the time for that specific reason. But in reality, you know, it's that situation that we made it through has made us grow so much more, you know, in love with each other, so much more supportive of each other. And I don't think any relationship needs to go to something that drastic to really grow
Yeah,
that strong.
let's not do.
make
We're not
You are
promoting
not
that.
setting. That is not
That's the
a
standard.
We're not going to be selling that course.
Absolutely. No,
No,
that's
I'll
not a
never
master
forget.
class on how to
That
build
is
a
definitely not
relationship.
a mass. Jason, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. No part of that.
Right.
I'm going to advocate for you guys.
Exactly.
That I wouldn't. Holy.
And I'll never forget, like, I
shit.
went down to the investigators, like, who was with our attorney, and he goes, "Okay, you have to sign these documentations to put your house up to get him out." Like, so my house was on federal lien for 4 years, and he's sitting there, and he goes, "So you guys are married?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Engaged?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Okay, this is the point where you walk away." And I'm like, "No, I don't." It was never a question.
Yeah.
Like, it was never, with all sincerity, it was never a question. Like, you're my person. That's it. I can't
Aw.
even explain it. Like, I know that sounds insane. Like, but it wasn't a question. And so then we kept just living life, and we kept fighting it because COVID delayed it, kept fighting it, got married. And then we went to court in August, and I just will never forget sitting there. First of all, we had the entire courtroom packed of people that were supporting him. Like the entire courtroom was full of
That was all due to her
loved ones.
Her charisma, her reach, her network.
And then the judge was up there and he goes, look, they're like, we did everything we were supposed to do according to the state. And he goes, yeah, but it doesn't matter because federally it's illegal. There's nothing I can do. Yeah. And so he sentenced him, and we just kept praying that, he's not going to go in. And so the mindset of him was like, it's not going to happen. And so we kept getting close to this date, and I kept, okay, like so then I quit my career in November of 2022 because ultimately he was running the business. And it's like, okay.
Well, let's draw back to that because this is important. So even though the actual arrest happened in November of 2019, okay, 2019.
So like literally 3 or 4 months before COVID.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is I got the benefit of COVID as far as my case. My case got kicked 9 times. So I was on pre-trial for almost 3.5 years. Okay, which is very important because during that time. Actually, here's how crazy it was. So December, I came out of prison. I was in detention for 16 days. I was in the MCC downtown San Diego for 16 days. I come out. She flies to London for her job for almost 2 weeks, right before Christmas. Comes back in January of 2020. We meet a doctor. We link up with the doctor, and we decide what everybody who is almost going to be incarcerated on a federal crime decides to do, and we open up a business called Catalyst Wellness, right? So we actually open up a business actually in January of January 2020, mm-hmm. I proposed to her, okay? So January 2020, I proposed to her.
Which, I think I deserve it at that point. I just put my house up for federal lien for you being.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Let me answer this. Yeah. Did you earn that ring? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You win.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Wow.
And so then in March of 2020, we opened up our business, and then we subsequently closed it in March of 2020 because COVID hit.
Right.
We were opening up our business, and then it's like, hey, COVID hit, shut down your business. We're like, what the hell?
Oh, shit.
So then 2 months later, we had a soft opening. We opened up our business.
Because it was health.
Yeah, so because it was health and wellness, and we operated on our doctor's
thank goodness.
privilege to have continuing care for his other primary care patients. So since 2020, March of 2020/April, that's when I was running the business because she was still in her job. As far as medical device sales, being an ass kicker and number one in all of her companies. That's one of the things that attracted me to her was the fact that she was such a driver. She was so charismatic in everything that she did. And she, once again, relentless. She would not stop until she was number one. And she did it in such a male-dominated industry where she was the female out of one, maybe 2 people in the company dominated by men, especially in sales now, and still at the top. Still in President's Club, still numero uno, still getting the trophies, and still showing the men that you guys think you could do it good. Let me show you how you can be done better, right? And so that was attractive to me. I mean, for some men, maybe as she said, and she's had the experience where they may say, "Oh, that looks really good. That's really attractive on the outside." Then they start getting to the relationship, and if that man doesn't perform at that level, that could be like, "Oh, you're wearing the pants. I can't deal with this. I'm out," and they'll self-sabotage to leave the relationship. That being said. In 2023, January 6th of 2023, that's when I actually finally ended up starting my sentence. So from November 2019 to January 2023 was really the time period where I was off. I was not essentially, I was in that pre-trial mode.
Yeah, so, and I was working my full-time career that time, and he was doing the business, and I would help out here and there, but I had a full-time career.
Yeah.
So I quit my full-time career that November, and he went in January 6th. So I got a crash course to entrepreneurship with 8 employees.
Oh, no way.
And everything. And talk about anxiety and panic a little bit there. It was a lot.
So January of 2023 is when you went.
January 6th, yeah.
And then when did you get out?
I got out on April 15th of this year, 2024. So
you found out on April Fool's Day.
Yes. Yes.
And so you have to hear this.
Hey Siri.
Yeah.
Set an important reminder for April Fool's Day. I did that on, yes, I did.
Yeah.
a fucking important date in my life going forward.
There were multiple times throughout his incarceration that we were like, okay, if this goes through, then you're going to get out on home confinement. If this goes through, you could get out on halfway house kind of thing, you know? And every time that date was promised and it didn't come to fruition. And so I finally said, do not tell me. Like, I do not want to know any more prospects, because I'm not going to lie. Like, this was the hardest time of my life. My anxiety was at an all-time high. I was having panic attacks. But I couldn't, there was no quitting. I couldn't quit.
Yeah.
I had a business. So you just one step at a time.
Relentless.
But I finally just said, don't tell me anymore. And so then he calls me on our anniversary. Still want to punch her in the face for this. And he's telling me, he goes, babe, I was going to send you this email this morning, but the email's down. And I was going to put all this stuff about how I actually get halfway house and I'm coming home and blah, blah, blah. And then at the very end, I was going to put, happy April Fool's Day. And I go, that's not funny. And he goes, oh, come on, that would have been funny. And I'm like, that wouldn't have been fun. Like, would that have been funny? I would have.
It kind of would have been funny, right?
Yes, it would have. Yeah. Because it's you. You did it for your mom.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah, it would have been funny.
That's right.
So
That's
I was not happy. And I was like,
Oh, I know you weren't happy. I wouldn't have wanted to be in front of her.
Yeah.
So then he calls me 2 hours later. I'm at the vet with this guy. And he goes, babe, I only have a minute. You're not going to believe this. He goes, but I'm getting halfway house and I'm going to be home April 15th. And I go,
I said I was getting home confinement.
shut up, babe. Yeah. Like, I told you this wasn't funny. And he goes, no, babe, I can see why you think I'm joking. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm done talking to you right now. And he's like laughing at me. And
I was laughing. I knew it was true.
He goes, no,
I
babe,
knew it was true. And she didn't know it. She wouldn't
serious.
believe it.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I'm at the vet. I'll call you later. And he goes, okay, but when they call you, I need you to say you're okay with me being at the house because you're the sponsor. And I'm like, sure, babe. Okay. Like, I didn't believe it until, like, every time he talked to me, I was like, no, until he got off that bus on April 15th. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to believe this now. Yeah.
I'm putting myself in your shoes, Kat. I don't know. I don't know how you made it, like, with the bond that you guys have.
Yeah, I don't
know how you did that. Because I'm just trying to process, like, your connection. Just getting to know you in a short period of time. And I don't want to assume anything. You have a really deep bond.
You're going to make me cry. Huh.
I know.
It's a spiritual connection that the ironies of life have never been more evident to me than ever before. And the sense of humor that God has never been so real in our life, not just my life, in our life. Because I find that, we can sometimes take things so seriously. And the last day I left prison, so I was involved in helping run a Bible study every night, 7 days a week inside of prison, running a prayer meeting or prayer group for men every day, 7 days a week inside of prison. And I would spend a lot of time in the Word, which is the Scripture, for those individuals who subscribe to some level of faith. If all you do is believe in yourself, I guess a lot of people can find some success in life, and that's not a bad thing. But when you subscribe to an authority that's above yours, and you believe in the words, for me, I'm a believer in Jesus, and I'm a believer in what He could do, and I really got to see the transformation of His power work through me when I was in prison, and it brought. What was funny is we talk about this a lot, and a lot of people ask me, "What did I learn in there?" And I say, I learned that I had all the freedom in the world as far as time goes in prison, and I had so little responsibilities. And the irony of it is, on the outside, we have very little time and all the responsibilities. And I have no time for that self-development. I have no time to really build the person that I want people to see. And in there, what I got to do was I got to spend time reading about Jesus and how He lived, and then reflecting how He lived. And then I saw the transformation of what that brought on other people. And when I came out here and I came into this world, I realized what the Scripture says about hating this world. I hate the part of the world that wants to distract us, that wants to interrupt us, that wants to tempt us away from being a humanitarian. And what that means is really caring about how other people feel. And this quote for me has stuck with me from back in 2004 or 5 when I first heard it. It's a quote by Zig Ziglar, and he says, If you want to achieve your goals, help others achieve theirs. I like to add the word first to the end of that because it exponentially empowers that saying. It says, if you want to achieve your goals, help others achieve theirs first. And I heard that before I added the word first to it. And then I read the Bible so intensely while I'm in prison. I'm like, that's exactly what Christ did. That's exactly what he did, is he always went out of his way to help others first. He never looked for help for himself. He always looked to help other people. And so that's the thing that we came to an understanding between ourselves, is that we were so far apart, irony, so far apart physically, but yet we grew so much together spiritually. And that's the bond that you're referencing. How can you be so far apart physically, but yet grow so close together spiritually? It's irrational to think about, because we think, oh, when you're close with somebody, when you're there with them day to day. I had 2 calls a day roughly to her and emails.
With that. And half the time I was down, or yeah.
Yeah. And
the irony is,
I have chills, by the way, with what you just said.
yeah. Well, and here's the irony of this entire situation is, you ask how I got through this time. I can say one thing is that back in when did we start Catalyst? When did I get
2020.
2022 is when I got off those.
No. You got off in June 2020.
2020.
We got to 45.
So June 2020, I went through a transition. And if you had told me, first of all, that I'd be going to church now and that I would believe in God, I would have, if you had asked me this 20 years ago, I would have said you were on crack. And what are you, there's absolutely no way. Like, I didn't get it. I'm going to be completely transparent. I'd be like, these Bible thumpers, like, I don't understand. Like, I was completely anti. It made me uncomfortable. It makes no sense. Okay, you do you, right? And then full transition, I went through this hard time, and I found spirituality and started with, universe and this, and then slowly transitioned into this church we go to in community. And ironically, I brought him back to church because he was Catholicism.
I grew up as a Catholic.
He didn't want to go to church. And when I asked him, I said, babe, they're like putting all these scriptures up there and they're like praying. I don't know what they're doing. Can you come and tell me what's going? So he came, and he was. Hold
on. Let me say, I said to that in my head, I was like, oh, hell no. I said that. Really? I was like, I'm not going. I'm not going.
This is before you went?
This is before.
This was in October of 2021.
Yeah. So neither of us were church, God-oriented, nothing. And I controlled everything in my life. That's how I was. And so somehow, this is where God has a sense of humor. Not only did I start going to church, but we got pulled into a community where I would not have gotten through what I got through.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Without the belief we had, without the community we had.
That's good. It's okay. It's authentic you.
And so, yeah, it's just amazing.
I mean, I'm sitting here like, I'm like, aren't you blown away at what we're capable of overcoming?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And really,
and you did it together.
We did it together. And really, it was me, going through a transformation when I think about Kat, I don't think about how much I don't really see much wrong with her, in the sense of, like, when you see a human and you're like, oh, I see what's wrong with her. Like, or I see what's wrong with that person. Even though she has some of her anxiety, I don't even think that's wrong. I think that's a lot of what I've created. So I really think that she would actually be flawless if it wasn't for me. But she encapsulates genuineness. She encapsulates what being a humanitarian is all about, right? And that, to me, is what I feel so blessed by, to be lifted up by that. And so I want to honor her in every way that I can. She has such great business savvy. This is kind of the core content of our message. In business, she had to transition from working for somebody else, making amazing money, to working on the business that I was managing before I went into prison. And because she was at her best health, because she was eating, in the best way possible, she was training, she had her internal hormones dialed in through the mechanics of what we offer through our therapy and our system, she was able to withstand her husband being incarcerated for an unknown amount of time, in terms of, even though it was 2.5 years, and that was the longest stretch, and then taking on a business, so much on her shoulders, and yet she did not collapse physically. And to think about it, if somebody was out of shape, they were deconditioned, they were not mentally strong, they did not have proper habits when it came to managing their nutrition, managing their movement, managing their recovery, managing their psychology, they would have folded like a cheap umbrella. And yet she thrived. She didn't just survive, she thrived. She increased our business year over year by 20%. She added new systems. She added new processes. She added new services and treatments to our business.
Well,
but she expanded everything. She was the instrumental piece of that, because if she was gone and I was gone, the business would have fallen apart. Wow. And so that's what we're presenting to people as far as value of what we offer. Listen, you have all these things that you're doing, and if you neglect your health and your wellness, then those things are going to suffer. And guess what? When those things suffer, there are other people on the other side of that suffering that are going to feel that pain. There's going to be somebody else that's going to have to step up in your family to bring that income in. There's going to have to be somebody else in there to manage all the responsibilities that you currently manage. So when you disregard your health,
your kids, right?
If you disregard your health, you're disregarding them. So what she and I are very intentional about is about honoring each other. And I was sharing this with the men in prison. I said, listen, best thing you can do with your wife is honor her, is put her up on your shoulders, because she's going to want to then put you up on her shoulders. And it's going to be one of these things where you guys keep shoulder pressing each other in the greatest way possible. And the sex is going to be amazing. And, and they all laugh. They're like, yeah, whatever, kind of in some kind of ways. And some people subscribe to the idea, but we witnessed that. Witnessed that. The more we promote each other, the more we elevate each other, the better off we feel about each other, the better off we feel about our relationship, the more we want to increase how much we do for each other and how much better we want to get for each other. And then the challenges still come in kind of our lenses and our paradigms, that we end up saying, you know what, those are old paradigms. Let's leave those behind. Let's once again cooperate, not compete with each other, and make ourselves better. And that it's an ongoing process. Don't get us, as you said, we're kind of showing you some of the best of what we are. Yeah. And we have our worst moments, but those are not catastrophic moments. Those are moments of opportunity. And even though, she lost me for a certain amount of time and I lost, my connection with the world, the way I look at losing, or when you lose something, it's a learning opportunity to seek evolution and excellence. So it's LOSE, right? And so that to us is how we've it's how we've really grown. It's amazing.
Don't look at my chair.
Yeah. Listen, man, your chair is specific. Yeah. It's holy for you. It's sanctified.
So now you know why Zeus is so important, because Zeus went everywhere with me. Zeus was my everything.
Oh, I get it.
Now it's like when people are like, no, you can't bring him. I'm like, okay, I'm not coming.
Oh, yeah. No, that's okay. I get it. Yeah. You don't want to be on the podcast anyway.
No.
I just want to let you know. I'm blown away. I do want, on here, I want to invite you. I want you to come back one-on-one with me, and we'll talk about, we'll talk about your time.
I'd love to. I'm still actually on BOP custody time. Like, this little fancy iWatch here is not an iWatch. It's a wrist monitor.
Buddy, I'm going to keep my opinion to myself, and I'll tell you off fucking line what I really think about. Yeah. I really, when you talked about honor and help, I can't thank you enough, first and foremost. I don't know what I did, but I'm glad I did it, because getting to know you like this, I hope this is a special moment for you, because it was for me. I am absolutely.
Oh, yeah. No,
you're in our community? Holy shit.
Well, just wait. Now we're friends. So now we're going to elevate. Now you got to find a new goal. You already lost 100 pounds. Where are we going next?
Oh, well, that's automatic. And this is, I appreciate this friendship, this bond so much, because how do you not get better by having you two in your lives? And then obviously Zeus, but that's automatic. Even if I don't know you guys, I'm cool.
We need to make hats with pit bulls on it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about branding, and we're gonna talk about branding. Yeah. I would love to see all the comments and everybody that watches this episode just shower you guys with love, because if you guys don't have if you're not doing a mastermind at the wellness for teaching relationship, a healthy relationship, shame on you, because I've had couples here, and I think, look at the divorce rate. Just take a look at it. It's offensive. And so I look at my kids and I'm thinking to myself, how do I was terrible example. I'm divorced and I'm single and I'm going to stay that way because it's just right for me. Mm-hmm. when I see people that are blended, like you're powerful, fuck, you make each other better. Like that's impressive. Like, how did you get closer when you were away?
Yeah, I know.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking, I'm like, how did you survive? You didn't survive, you fucking thrived. I'm like, wow. So good for you. Like,
thank you, brother. Appreciate
you
that.
exist. Like you're real.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm in. Kat, did you have fun?
I had a blast. I had an amazing time.
Yeah.
It was great. You made me cry. Nobody makes me cry.
Oh, I make everyone cry. You made me cry.
I made you cry.
You can't make me cry.
That's amazing.
There we
That is
go.
amazing. That's a first for everything,
I
man.
know, right?